30th of June 1960, the Grand Hall in Leopoldville was filled with anticipation. Congo was becoming independent after decades of colonial rule. Belgian officials sat proudly in the front rows, Congolese leaders behind them, and ordinary citizens crowded outside, waiting to hear history unfold. King Baudouin of Belgium rose first. His voice was calm, his words carefully chosen. He praised King Leopold II, calling him a genius who had conceived the Congo as a great enterprise. He spoke of Belgium's civilizing mission, of courage and perseverance, and declared that Congo's independence was the fruit of Belgium's guidance. This is his speech translated to English.
The independence of the Congo, the work of genius of King Leopold II, undertaken by him with tenacious courage and continued with perseverance by Belgium, marks a decisive hour in the destinies not only of the Congo itself, but I do not hesitate to affirm of the whole of Africa.
Baudouin's speech painted colonization as noble, almost heroic. He wanted the world to see independence as a gift, a gracious handover from Belgium to Congo. But for the Congolese people, who had endured forced labor, humiliation, and violence, those words were bitter. And for Patrice Lumumba, the young prime minister, they were unbearable. Lumumba did not bow. He rose with fire in his voice and pain in his memory. He spoke not of Belgium's civilizing mission, but of the humiliation, the ironies, the insults, the blows Congolese people had endured morning, noon, and night, simply because we were black. He reminded the world that respect had been reserved for whites, while Congolese were treated as inferiors. And then he declared, with unshakable conviction, this is his speech translated to English.
Fighters for independence, today victorious, I greet you in the name of the Congolese government. To all of you, my friends, who have fought tirelessly at our side, I ask you to make of this 30th of June an illustrious date, one that you will keep indelibly engraved in your hearts, a date whose meaning you will teach with pride to your children, so that they in turn may pass it on to their sons and grandsons, the glorious history of our struggle for freedom. We have known the ironies, the insults, the blows we had to endure morning, noon, and night simply because we were black. Who will ever forget that to a black man they said "tu," not as to a friend, but because the respectful form was reserved only for whites? We have suffered in our bodies and in our spirits from colonialist oppression. And so I tell you, all of that is now finished.
Before we proceed, let me tell you the meaning of the question he asked in his speech, which is, who will ever forget that to a black man they said "tu," not as to a friend, but because the respectful form was reserved only for whites? This is a powerful and deeply loaded sentence that speaks to a specific form of racial humiliation and the denial of basic human dignity. Let me break it down. Picture an old, unfair rule, where only white people get the respectful way, black people only get the friendly way. And here's the cruel twist. It's not actually friendly. It's not like saying, "Hey buddy," to a friend. It's like using the friendly way to say, "You don't deserve my respect. I see you as a child, not a full adult. You are beneath me." It was a small word that carried a huge, hateful message every single day. It was a way of using basic manners to be cruel and to constantly remind black people they were seen as inferior. Think of it this way. If you called every adult you met by their first name, but you only saved Mr. or Mrs. for people with a certain color skin, you'd be doing the same thing. You'd be showing respect to one group and denying it to another on purpose. The core meaning of "tu" and "vos" distinction, "tu" or "tú" in Spanish, is the informal, familiar form used with family, close friends, children, and, historically, social inferiors. Vous, or usted, in Spanish, is the formal, respectful form, used with strangers, elders, superiors, and to show politeness. To a white person, regardless of class, they would always use vous. This acknowledged the white person's inherent social standing and humanity, even if they were a stranger or of lower economic class. To a black person, especially in contexts of servitude or subjugation, they would often use tu, but crucially not as to a friend. The use of tu here is a double-edged weapon that has three cruel uses. 1. It denies equality. It refuses the respectful distance of vous, placing the black person in a category deemed unworthy of formal courtesy. 2. It enforces infantilization or animalization. By using the form one would use for a child or a pet, it strips the black person of adult agency and intellect. 3. It is a constant, public reminder of status. Every single verbal interaction reinforces a hierarchy where whiteness equals authority and blackness equals subservience. It's a microaggression built into daily language. I hope you understand the meaning of tu now. It wasn't about friendship. It was a weapon to deny respect and enforce a cruel hierarchy. Let's continue to the story of Patrice Lumumba. Belgian officials stiffened with anger. Western diplomats exchanged worried glances. Lumumba had shattered the polite illusion of independence as a gift from Belgium. He had told the truth, raw, unfiltered, unforgettable. That speech became both his glory and his curse. To the Congolese people, it was liberation in words. To Belgium and the West, it was defiance. Lumumba had revealed the brutality of colonialism before the world, and in doing so, he marked himself as dangerous. Belgium feared losing control of Congo's vast mineral wealth. The United States, deep in the Cold War, feared Lumumba's openness to Soviet aid. Congolese rivals feared his popularity and vision of true independence. His words, his refusal to thank Belgium, his insistence on dignity convinced powerful enemies that he could not be allowed to lead. Within months, Congo descended into crisis. The army mutinied, Katanga seceded, and Lumumba's enemies closed in. He was dismissed, hunted, and finally captured. On the 17th of January 1961, he was flown to Katanga, beaten, and executed by firing squad. Belgian officers and Congolese collaborators stood by as the man who had dared to speak truth was silenced forever. Patrice Lumumba was assassinated because he spoke the truth too loudly, too clearly, and too fearlessly. His speech was his weapon, and also the reason his enemies decided he must die. But history remembers him not as a victim, but as a martyr of independence, whose voice still rises whenever freedom is spoken. His words were his weapon, his courage was his crime, and for that, they killed him. Today, Patrice Lumumba is remembered not as a victim, but as a hero, a man who dared to speak truth in the face of power and who paid with his life. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.